Hey everybody, welcome to this week's Weekly Crop, and this week we're talking about one of our favorite things to talk about lately, gimbals. Yes, that's right, there's yet another gimbal coming at us. It's like we're part of the Gimbal a Month Club here at Vistek, where they're just firing through our door at such a regular pace. It's kind of hard to keep up, but we're doing our best. And this week we're talking about a rather special gimbal, and before I tell you all about it, you know, gimbal technology has changed quite a bit since they first came out. They were really the realm of filmmakers and rather large gimbals for larger cameras, and now they've come down to basically give everybody a chance to use a gimbal in whatever they're doing. You don't need to be a filmmaker, and this has also gone in step with the rise of mobile phone videography and photography and all of that type of thing. So you see, you know, companies like DJI really leading the front with mobile phone gimbals and that type of thing, which is great. Well, there's a bunch of other people that have come, you know, into the mix, and we did a weekly crop not that long ago comparing the Osmo Mobile 3 with the new Benro, which are so very, very similar. But I want to just show you again the Osmo Mobile 3 and say that, you know, this is really amazing how small these guys are. But the downside to the size of this is that it kind of isn't this. This is a bit misleading because if you want to put your phone onto the Mobile 3 here, you can't just rest it. It's just going to fall over, obviously. So you do require this little stand, which you can kind of take on and off if you need, for sure. But in order for you to put your phone onto the gimbal, you need that stand, which effectively kind of raises the size of it. And oftentimes you're kind of holding it here or maybe even here or like this. So sometimes it's also very useful to have that. But for the most part, it just adds to the size unnecessarily. Well, Zhiyun has created their answer to that. And this is basically, as far as I can tell, the world's smallest mobile phone gimbal. It is the Smooth Q2, and it requires no stand. Now, if I put it on this basically waterbed of a table, it does fall over, but that is not the fault of the gimbal. It is the fault solely of my table here. So I'm going to grab my quarter apple and just show you guys how, bam, it stands on its own. So that is the number one compelling feature, is that you don't need an extra stand. If you do want, it does have a quarter 20 on there, so you can adapt whatever you want to the base of this, but you don't need it to set up your phone, which is fantastic. So that's the number one reason to kind of get this guy. It keeps it in a very small package that you can literally put this into your pocket. And I don't know any other mobile phone gimbal that you can just slide into your pocket. It's super great. Number two reason is we'd like to think that like batteries last forever, and they last for a long time now. The technology is great, but if you've got a built-in battery, and eventually over time, as we all know, batteries lose their efficiency and their ability to hold a charge. Well, what's great about this guy is that you can simply remove the battery and replace it. Just buy another one and replace it. So you can have this gimbal for years and years and years and still get, you know, good as day one performance out of it. So that's number two reason. Number three reason is another great thing. Now, if I compare it again to our Osmo 3, if I want to take my phone off of this, I take it out of its bracket, and then I have to rebalance it all over again when it's time to put it back on. And I'm nitpicking here. It's not that much of an inconvenience, but it is one extra step that you have to do. It just slows things down. It does prevent you from just sort of hopping back in and shooting really fast and then, oh, got a phone call, take it off, and then hop back into your shoot on and off like that. So, you know, anything that slows that process down may make things feel cumbersome and might mean that you're going to miss some action sometimes, right? If you're trying to get back into your shot. So where the Q2 solves this is they've got a quick release plate. And so I'm just going to demonstrate really quick here with my phone. So I got my camera there, and I'm going to unlock this. And all you need to do for balancing the Smooth Q with your camera or with your phone is just to make sure that the roll axis is level. So right now we see the roll axis is dipping. So all I need to do is just move this a little bit, still dipping a bit. Great. And a lot of questions people have had about these mobile phone gimbals is how much of, like how big of a phone can I carry on it? Because phones are just seeming to get larger and larger and larger, especially when you add a case. Well, they got really strong motors on the Smooth Q2, and what's great about that is it will hold up to about a 260 gram phone, and that's, you know, total package. Most iPhones like I have here, the iPhone XR with the phone is under 200 grams still, so we're well under that. And they've got really strong motors so that you don't have to perfectly balance it. The motors will make up for that. So as long as you get it to this sort of level, you're ready to go. So I'm going to turn this on just to show you guys kind of what that looks like. All right. So I have it turned on. Now I can go and be shooting with it, and then I can put it into what's called a standby mode. I can release, take this out, right? The gimbal is still on, and I can be chatting, right? And then immediately slide it back in, lock it down, take it out of standby mode, and I'm ready to go. That fast. It is so incredibly fast, faster than any other gimbal I've ever seen. The compelling reason number 4 is that it's got a really nice aluminum or metal body to it. So it's not just this plasticky thing. We all know I have a reputation of not being particularly gentle on gear, and I was really happy to see that this was a very robust metal design, which means that like you can toss it in your bag, you can toss it wherever you want, and know that it's going to take the abuse. Even if it slips out of your hand while you're doing something fun with it, you know that it's not going to end up in a million plasticky pieces all over the pavement. It has a certain amount of robustness to it. So that's like the next sort of compelling reason. The following compelling reason, I guess we're up to number 5 now, is that unlike, and I don't want to just, single out the Osmo Mobile 3 because I do love this gimbal. I think this gimbal is incredible, and there's a lot of reasons to own this. But unfortunately, what the Osmo Mobile 3 doesn't have is a vortex mode. Vortex is super, super popular now. If you don't know what it is that sort of inception mode, right? The way that this is designed doesn't really facilitate that to work, unfortunately. And that's where the strength of this one comes in. So I can go through all my usual modes here, right? We've got our pan follow mode. So pan, and then the tilt stays the same. Then we've got our lock mode, which our tilt and our pan remain. So, this is always a great mode if you're doing jib shots or if you're doing slider shots. So you can just kind of go like this, trace a line. If I was to go back to my pan follow mode, it starts to kind of tilt and angle a bit. The gimbal does move, but in the lock mode, it just retains that nice straight line. So that's why you want to use lock mode for these sort of jib shot sort of things, right? Like that. And then we're going to go to full follow. So now that's like pan follow, but it also locks the tilt. And then POV, which locks both the tilt, pan, and the roll axis. So you can kind of do fun things like that. But as I was saying, now we're going to go into our vortex mode. So you can do a lot of fun stuff with this, obviously. The final compelling reason to buy this particular gimbal is the app. Now, the one downside of this app, if you're comparing it to, say, like the Osmo Mobile 3 or the Benro app, is that this one is a little bit more limited. You can't do quite as much with it in terms of controlling any sort of parameters around deadband or things like that. But it does have a great tracking on it, and all you need to do is select the tracking button, then draw a box around the thing you want to track, and hopefully you'll be tracking something that has a pretty good degree of contrast for it to be able to hold on to. And then it holds the tracking quite well. The last thing that I want to mention, though, is that there are some limitations with this device. One is that it doesn't have what we typically call a sport mode. So on the Osmo, you do have the sport mode, which you can do fast swoosh pans with it. It's lacking that, unfortunately. Another thing it's lacking is a zoom rocker. So you can't, zoom in your footage with the device itself. That's not as big of a deal as you think it is. I thought it was kind of a big deal at first, but then when you really think about it, zooming in post is often going to yield you better results than zooming in camera. That if you just kind of always shoot wide and then go in post and zoom, that's really what you want to be doing. The downside, of course, is that, if you're just the type of person that doesn't want to do any post-production, wants to shoot a quick 15 to 1 minute video, you're on vacation, then you just want to immediately upload that. Obviously, that's where the shortcoming is going to be, that you may not have the ability to zoom in post. In summary, I would say that if you want a really compact and super easy to use gimbal, there's probably nothing as good on the market at what it does than the Smooth Q2. Really, it's incredible for that. The downside, of course, is if you are trying to do some level of film production with your iPhone and you want some more, I don't want to say professional, but more features that allow for better cinematography out of your iPhone, I think you still probably want to go with a product like the Benro or the Osmo Mobile 3. Either of those will give you a lot more flexibility in programming it and sort of tools that you can use with inside. But for the person who just wants to shoot a lot of really cool stuff on their phone and then upload it or take it traveling with you or just take it to the gym with you or take it wherever you're going, it's kind of hard to beat this. Its robustness, its battery power, its motor power, and its packability really just make this such an incredible little unit. We're really super stoked to have it in our store here amongst all of our other gimbals that we have. And if you've got a question about this or any of our other gimbals, please visit us here at vistek.ca or come to one of our stores in Canada or just give us a call. We're happy to chat with you either way about these great products. And that is all for now. Go out there, have some fun, and happy shooting.